Hello, folks. I greet you. As always, we accentuate the positive and eliminate the negative, but we don't mess with the man in between. Welcome to Homo Politicus on Enterprise TV. I am Citizen Jones Hussein. Today, let's share this with you. Ecowas and risk of disintegration. Burkina Faso, Mali, and Niger quit Bloc. You know, the West African Regional Group of 15 countries was founded on May 28, 1975 to promote economic cooperation among member states to raise living standards and promote economic development. So close to 50 years after, one is able to say that the fortunes of the regional group are mixed, no thanks to interventionism. One recalls that Togo, a French colony, became the first to stage a military coup, but currently 3 supposed members of Ecowas, namely Burkina Faso, Mali, and Niger, are maximum rulers. That's the heads of state are military boys who are pulled out of the bloc as we speak. So with this poorly thought out decision, ECOWAS Commission, headed by Dr. Omar Aliou Touré, a Gambian, warns that by the threesome quitting, a disintegration of ECOWAS is imminent. Now, the gut reaction is to dismiss this warning, but a second long, hard look at the matter tells one that the world is fragile, no less so West African region, but you can't let it ruin your life. So let's have a discussion. My 2 discussants are the ebullient Emeka Madonagu, journalist and national affairs commentator. Emeka, welcome one more time.
Pleasure. Thank you so much.
He is joined by the indomitable barrister Evans Ufeli. Evans is also a political commentator. I welcome you too.
Thank you. Morning.
Yeah, so ECOWAS facing disintegration 50 years after. Did any of you see this coming, given what's playing out?
Yes, I mean, the African space, the African Union, as weak as the African Union is the same way ECOWAS, which is the West African region. That's exactly, and to say that
the regional bloc.
Yes, to say that those who should pretend over either ECOWAS or African Union are principally persons who have no democratic
credentials.
Yeah, credentials ingrained in them. Part of them, apart from maybe the Nigerian president and 1 or 2 here and there, we had people who have been in government for so many years, scattered across Africa. So one of the undoing of ECOWAS is its pretense to want to retain democracy when her leaders are not democratic people.
But they are preaching democracy.
Yeah, they're preaching democracy. Each time there's a military intervention, ECOWAS will start to cry to the high heavens. It will tell you it wants to invoke this and that powers and that power. Since 1975, when it was created. But at the end of the day, you find out that it really doesn't get to the issues. They really don't get to the issues. And partly because the ECOWAS formation seems to me like a big brother who is trying to solve the problem of his colleagues or siblings, but have not solved its own problem. The problem of the West Africa, way back. Even the military intervention in Togo took place before ECOWAS was established. It was in 1963. 3 years after Nigeria.
Togo, a French colony then.
Yes, a French colony then. And then 3 years later, Nigeria also had that issue. So when you look at the major countries surrounding the whole region, we've had one, the current one is the 3 countries now, the 4 countries now that have Niger, Burkina Faso, and the other that have now left the bloc. So ECOWAS is threatened, and the threat is real, because when countries when democratically elected government, fails to make life easy for the citizens, fail to govern well, failing in all its responsibility, the ECOWAS don't make any pronouncement. They don't. So it is when these things have pressed the people to the point where the military will now take over. When they take over, ECOWAS will now start to threaten. So, like the case of Niger, they told ECOWAS clearly when Tinubu wanted to attack, they told me clearly that you don't have such rights to do this to us or to attempt to want to say, because when the leadership, your so-called democracy, when they were failing, you didn't make any comments. Okay? Now, even it seems to me that now in Africa, military takeover seems to be gaining credibility in countries where it has happened.
Gaining ground.
Yeah, gaining ground because in countries where it has happened, the people seems to be better off than they were under democratic dispensation.
Yeah, thank you. Emeka, but the problems of ECOWAS must be seen in the larger context of the problems bedeviling Africa as a whole. Violence and conflict, as well as drug trafficking, piracy, and extremism. Don't you think?
Well, the unfortunate thing is that Africa has not shown the willingness to unshackle itself from, from the very ills plaguing it. The curious nature of strange nature of African leaders is that, they actually accentuate these ills for personal political gains. And that has significantly weakened, the capacity for democracy to transform the lives of Africans. And so that's why you see all these things. You see, where people don't have legitimate economic means of survival, they will find a way. And that's why you see, different things plaguing Africa. And the West has actually continued to pretend that it is not aware that its strategies for engaging with Africa have actually been to the advantage and to the disadvantage of Africa. And so, what do we have? You find out that African nations are deep in debt. African nations are deep in poverty, in illiteracy, insurgency, ethnic divisions, religious divisions, extremism, terrorism. Now, Western nations over the years that African nations have actually gained independence have benefited so much from Africa. Pillaging African resources, if you permit me to use that word, in the guise of engagement. Now, piling African countries with debts that have made it difficult for their natural resources to, go, to be spread across to their people. And so, our pretensions at democracy have largely come short of, global.
In other words, Emeka, you saw this coming.
Of course, you see, the African Union that started as OAU, was it the OAU was actually a better organization than the African Union. The African Union was actually, if the African Union as it stands right now is basically
a lame duck.
Yes. I mean, beginning from the fact that its secretariat in Addis Ababa, Ethiopia, was funded by, by China, built and funded by China, $200 million, built and funded by China, equipped by China. So that was actually a disservice to Africa. Is it that African nations could not build a secretariat? Then you now come to ECOWAS. You find out that ECOWAS has largely been ineffective.
Thank you. Barrister Ofeli, the three countries in question, Niger, Burkina Faso, and Mali, only recently expelled French soldiers from their territories. So, aren't you looking at a waning French influence in Africa?
Very well, because if you look at the French policy of assimilation, they started out with the policy of association during the colonial era. And at the tail end of colonialism, when they dropped off, they now did what they call the policy of assimilation. That policy of assimilation will mean that everything about the French. You know, they wanted their colonies to observe. They even gave them visa-free and all that to the French, to France and all that, and ensured that they supplanted the culture, the respective African culture with the French culture and held on to them. But these people just discovered that this union is very extractive. It is extractive. It's not, they are not making headway. They speak the French language. They use the France and the CFA, but their life had not changed.
Yeah, but
now
add this to what you already know. Almost every French country in Africa, well, not French country, a former French colony in Africa, does not have a central bank. Their monies are kept in France.
Yes, that is what I'm saying. It's a deliberate economic posture to ensure that France have dominance on these African countries, unlike the Anglophone countries that we know. I mean, the moment they left, independence was independence. Sovereignty was sovereignty. Okay? But for these other ones, there was not like sovereignty, because every movement is still tied to the apron spring of France. And France has really done incalculable damage. When, like in the case of Niger, for example, when they open up conversation with Russia and all that, and the uranium that the France were buying for peanuts, yes. Okay. Russia started offering serious financial engagement,
inducement,
yes, to be able to get these resources to, and have given them a better light in terms of economic hope. So even the military, the citizens and all that, they don't even want to hear about their former colonial masters, because they have been shortchanged for a very long time. And you see, the thing that fueled this military takeover is that democracy in Africa is a funny pot. When you have a democracy that don't promote the lives of the larger citizens, including Nigeria,
something gives.
Yes. Then the military, and you don't even have a military that you really have positive influence over. So when they strike, the people they led can see that there's a new balance. There's a kind of improvement somewhere. So the people I pray that in Africa, military rule will not supplant democracy.
Okay.
Because democracy have done worse things than even the military interventions that we've had.
Yeah,
so
but it's
why not? It is a system.
Except that prayers alone will not do it.
Yes.
But nevertheless, Emeka,
but sorry, remember he's a lawyer. And lawyers, present prayers before the court.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay, Emeka, the three countries, again, Burkina Faso, Niger, and Mali, have formed a new confederation, the Alliance of Sahel States. Does this tell you anything?
You see, this is not the first time that African nations, have tried to come together in an alliance. You've had Senegambia. You had, nations like that coming together here and there, in Africa, just to build solidarity. So it's not a new thing. But what is new is that this is an attempt to radically shift. I think there was also an attempt like that to form, alliances. There have been such attempts in the past. So now they are coming together. Well, to me, it's not. I don't see anything really, really wrong with it.
Yeah, I'm sorry. I had a reason for asking. The three of them are forming the Sahel states. Yes. Good. But other former French colonies in Africa include Côte d'Ivoire, Senegal.
Yes. Yeah, but these states, if you stretch it up to Mauritania, stretch down to Chad, they're actually in the Sahel.
Okay.
And in Africa,
no less so Nigeria.
Yes, a portion of Nigeria. So the Sahel today is a ticking time bomb. There is actually a power struggle in the Sahel. You have the coupists from Niger, Mali, Burkina Faso.
Insurgents.
No, coupists.
I'm looking at Mali and insurgency.
No, I'm even going somewhere. Okay. I said a power struggle. between two camps.
Okay.
The coupists and the jihadists. The coupists are holding power right now. They've sent away democratically elected governments, so to speak. Now, the jihadists want to supplant them, want to actually chase them away from power. So, and France and the United States have been actively involved in these nations, but have not really engaged these nations in particular ways that will address their issues. And so, year after year, Africa sinks deeper into poverty. Then, China now comes and says, look, we have the Belt and Road Initiative that can help you get those things that the West, doesn't want to give you in a way that will boost your economies. So, okay, look at it. We will build it for you, we will fund and build it. Then you will pay back over time. But it's just a copycat of the same extortion, the same exploitation by the West. Now, Russia has come in as a counterbalance to say, okay, we will protect you, we'll protect your nation, we'll protect your government.
At a cost.
At a cost. Still the same copycat imperialism. Now, Africa has not been able to build its own version of imperialism, if you permit that word,
Its own version is Boko Haram now. It's insurgency.
But it's still hot in Africa. I'm talking about when I talk about economic, it says that African nations can invest in other nations outside Africa.
Barrister Feli, Emeka is not saying that the opposite of imperialism is insurgency. He's not saying that.
No, he's not saying that. No. Anything imperialism has to do with economic power.
Yes.
Economic power exchange, okay?
Absolutely.
Whether it's for good or for bad, whatever it is. Imperialism is imperialism.
Imperialism is also for an advantage.
Yes, it's an advantage. But you see, I've asked myself this question many times, that why is it that Africa have not been able to, one country in Africa at least, step out of Africa, go somewhere and colonize that place and become, because yes, why not? It's Africa a dumping ground. Every time Africa is the victim.
The question is not out of place, because you expect Egypt, for instance, which was known as the center of civilization, to be the leading light in Africa.
Yeah, but Egypt is not interested in imperialism. They are much more into themselves and how to explore. I mean, the best universities of the world all started from Egypt and all that.
Yeah.
Egypt had been a center of civilization for so long a time that the earliest philosophers that established, the foundation of knowledge in physics and other areas.
Well, you can't wish away the Mansa Musas of this life that came from Mali.
Yes, Mali incursion, Africa as a whole, not just even Africa. Yes, even before, it's just that the white man came and started to talk about binary and all that. What you call binary today is a far practice, okay, in deep further mathematics. The calculus you see, they are all embedded in a far practice. Some of the deities had all the codes of mathematical engagement that the West have now supplanted. But the truth is that Africa have not been able to trade itself proper. It has not been able to.
Can that be traced to the problem of leadership?
Leadership is there because even the traditional leadership in those days, we saw how instead of them to look inwards to build capacity, they were selling off in an alliance where they were selling off their inhabitants in exchange for mirror, for Gogoro and the rest of that. So they too were involved in the practice. So what we have today is democracy, and the way the leaders treat the led. Don't forget the way traditional leaders.
The so-called long juju of Arochukwu was a mirror. So yes. I understand.
Yes, so that's what I'm saying. But you see, all those powers we had then, we didn't exchange them and market them proper for imperial inquests. We didn't do that. The Royal Niger company came to Nigeria with nothing, not even magic or juju, but they were able to trade. But Africa had so much powers of resistance, spiritual, other mysterious and esoteric powers. He couldn't use it for his own advantage. Yeah. You understand? So Africa would have used what it had, okay, to explore across the sea and then colonize other countries.
Emeka, but Barrister Ofeli has forgotten that if Africa had nothing, Togo gave us the first military coup. But you expected military leaders to seize the advantage.
Again,
See what the others are not and did see.
Again, the influence was external.
Okay.
The influence from the Cold War. What I'm trying to say is that Africa has not built an Afrocentric, influence. Murtala Mohammed got his spot on. But the problem
was that why it was removed?
Well, there have been insinuations to that effect. But you know what?
No, we're removed by coup now.
Murtala Mohammed got it. That was why he launched the movement for liberation of African nations. But
you are not surprised because he made Africa the centerpiece.
Yes, but the problem was that Murtala didn't put in an economic blueprint in that liberation. Just tying in with what Barrister said, he didn't put in that blueprint. Now look at Nigeria. If there's any country in Africa that's had the goals and actually, the idea of imperialism is Nigeria even up till today,
being in the driver's seat.
Yes, Nigerian banks, their capital base is even bigger than that of the GDP of many African countries. One, Nigerian banks for many years have had branches. Actually, even these days they have gold banks, even in Western nations, in African nations.
Yes.
But the point is, like a friend of mine in the US was saying, that why is it that we don't have Nigerian businessmen in India, in Pakistan, in some of these countries? Look at what Dangote has been able to do in Africa. He's been able to go far, in different places. And then some other businessmen here and there. But
that's personal effort.
Yeah, personal effort. The government has not made it as a policy. That look, we are going to push our own brand of economic. Let me not call it, because I don't really like the word imperialism. Maybe economic advancement. Yes, economic blueprint. Such that, for instance, under Babangida also had that idea, but I don't know how he lost it. NNPC, was talking of setting up refineries in different parts of the world. That if Nigeria needed, if that will be supplying Nigeria in case our local refineries have problems. NNPC got one refinery on one island, but the refinery was, in terms of offices, dead. NNPC did not go forward with that idea. If NNPC had gone ahead with that idea, look at Aramco, Arab American company, dominating the oil industry in Saudi Arabia with American force. Look at Petrobras. Even the Aramco is extending to other countries. Why can't NNPC? What is holding NNPC from actually reaching out?
It has declared a state of emergency.
What's the state of emergency? Declare a state of emergency on your remittances from abroad. If we can be getting so much remittances from Nigeria, just 5%, remittances that Nigerians, why can't the Nigerian government look for islands of opportunity around the world to, make their own remittances to Nigeria?
Okay. By Sofili, earlier on, you talked about Nigeria playing the big brother card vis-a-vis Ecowas.
Yes.
In 50 years of Ecowas, I dare say Nigeria has picked up the most bill.
Very well. So I've not seen.
So what do you expect to happen from now? President Tinubu is the chairman of Ecowas.
Yeah, every Nigerian president. I don't know of any Nigerian president that was not an Ecowas chairman. I don't know. I don't know of any. That maybe Jonathan was he the chairman? Jonathan was at that point. So it has always been that way because we are the huge spender. You understand? We're like
we're the big boy.
Yeah, we're like that careless son of the elephant. That anytime it's going out, it carries the father and the mother's savings. When it gets into the wild, he asks every other animal to line up and he begins to share goodies and they throw party. Then when they get home, they get stranded.
So there will be peace in the forest.
Yes, so there will be peace in the forest. So we have been spending anytime they have this meeting, they'll tell you, I mean, Tinubu's tenure just expired. They've renewed it for him immediately. Seeing that will Ecowas survive without Nigerians' input in terms of finance? How are they going to survive? Is it Togo are going to ask to bring money to run Ecowas? Or which country are you going to ask?
Secretariat is even in Abuja.
This thing we are going to have to bring money and all that. So you just have the formation of ESCO. The main issues run in Nigeria. Even the ECOWAS court is in Abuja. The ECOWAS court is in Abuja, funded by, Nigeria and all that, but our space and all that. So it's not a bad thing that we have assumed that position. But what is bad and wrong?
The ECOWAS parliament also here.
Yes. What is bad and wrong is ECOWAS inability to manage these 15 countries, right? 15 countries under a space. It's inability to manage, because if you say this is a formidable international organization, it should be able to make impact despite sovereignty. Yeah. When a democratically elected governor, a president, is acting out, it's not doing the right thing. The people,
but you can say in retrospect that General Yakubu Gowon, at the time of the foundation of ECOWAS, had tall dreams.
Yes.
So, but we are not able to build on the dreams.
Yes, it did. He had tall dreams and all that. But if you read the history of ECOWAS, it was founded on a very positive ground. It was an idea whose time came at that time. And the formation in 1975 was purely for development and to increase the living standard.
And cooperation.
Yes, cooperation and the living standard of the member countries within that sub-region. Okay? But today, can we say that that purpose has been achieved? If that purpose has been achieved, we'll be having military takeovers all over the place. And then up to the point where those countries that now have military, they are now forming their own. So, and I believe that Sahel thing will be in defiance of ECOWAS instructions or whatever ECOWAS have to offer. I believe it's going to be a parallel group that we're going to have more military, more states that will have military incursion and add to that number.
Emeka, as we begin to take this home, the ECOWAS Commission head, Omar Aliu Toure of the Gambia, has predicted a disintegration of the regional bloc. So what lies ahead?
The regional bloc has never really been won. The Francophone countries have routinely ganged up against Nigeria. Yes, now look at the CFA. The CFA is giving the Nigerian naira a pounding. It's not that in Nigeria we pretend about our problems. We pretend about our problems.
Which has self-inflicted.
Some of these things, we don't want to tell ourselves the hard truth, because what is the point? Playing Big Brother when your people cannot see food to eat. Why are you playing Big Brother for? Why? You see, Nigeria is funding ECOWAS. What is Nigeria getting in return for it? Morocco, and I think Israel, actually applied to become members of ECOWAS at the point. Yes. But ECOWAS nation said no.
Egypt or Israel?
No, I think maybe Israel or that. But I know that of Morocco. I know that of Morocco.
Yeah, Morocco flirted with that.
Morocco, yes. Now, what we find today is that West Africa is bedeviled by insurgency. And so, Nigeria is actually the main nation leading the fight against insurgency, and is impacting on our economy negatively, heavily. What are Western nations doing? Now, Russia is coming in to complicate the situation. And so, it is even a threat to Nigeria. Because for those three nations to now, and Russia is talking of setting up a military base in Eastern Libya. So, that means Russia is very likely going to have the control of the Sahel. And then gradually, it might find itself in a conflict with Nigeria if care is not taken. Because Nigeria will want to along the line say, what is all this?
Apart from the Democratic Republic of Congo, I would say the
Central African Republic, the Wagner group.
The Sahel region is a rich region too.
It's a rich region too.
Russia with this wealth and the economic prowess can easily buy off that place.
Yes.
So it's actually a threat to Nigeria.
And Europe is also looking at it that this Wagner group guys, they're just after money. So the fear is that they will soon begin, to ramp up illegal migration into Europe.
All right.
And be raising the numbers of people they'll be pushing to
All right,
Europe.
gentlemen, we must apply the brakes, but I dare say we have filled the viewer in with quite a lot to sleep on. Let me thank Messrs. Emeka Madunagu and Evans Ofeli. Thank you very kindly.
You're welcome. My
Well,
pleasure.
let the debate continue, but I dare say that the coming days will be very interesting for ECOWAS and the African sub-region. I wish you Godspeed. I'm out of here until the next time. I'm Citizen Jones Hussein. Bye-bye now.
Enterprise TV, a tradition of truth.